In this episode, I'm going to share with you how I deal with setbacks across 10 different scenarios. Because if you follow me for a little while, or you have listened to this podcast for a little while, sometimes you may have a perception of me that because I'm in shape, because I've got a great business, got a beautiful fiance, great friends, and on the front end, having a life between Dubai and London and traveling lots, that nothing ever goes wrong. And I wish that was the case. But just like you, if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, with people to think about, maybe people to manage, every single week, there is a curveball or something that doesn't go my way around my health and fitness, in business and personal, that ultimately affect how I feel. But I believe one of the reasons I've continued to push forward with my business and why my personal life has gone to another level and why I've been able to stay in shape, irrelevant of curveballs, setbacks and challenges, is because of the way I deal with setbacks. It's night and day from how I used to deal with setbacks, certainly in my 20s. Why? Because I've worked on myself, worked on my mindset, and as I'm going to sort of touch on throughout today's episode, I changed the way I evaluate and look at things. I think one of the reasons so many people aren't where they want to be in business or with body is they fold and demonstrate reactive behavior, choices, and bad habits when things don't go to plan. And I think business owners and entrepreneurs are the worst for that because they are among the most all or nothing characters on the planet. And I've done lots of previous episodes touching on that. But I'm going to go through 10 scenarios and just share as sharply and concisely as possible how I deal with a setback in a given area. Some are going to be to do with training and food, etc. And there's going to be a few around business and money and personal and emotions. So number one is training. Across a calendar year, especially being the age of 40 now, even with the best training intent in the world, technique, experience, background that I have, I'm going to pick up niggles and injuries. I'm going to have certain lifts that I want within a session that don't go quite to plan. And now, of course, I've increased my cardio because I'm going to be doing a competition such as High Rocks. There are going to be certain times that I set out to hit with my cardio that I don't hit. And it's annoying, very frustrating, especially when you're very competitive like me and you genuinely give your all in every session. Sometimes giving your all, of course, you push that a little bit too hard and injuries can happen, especially when, because of my background, there's a lot of wear and tear from professional football, years of lifting, running, different sports, and simply put, being very reactive, very active. So when I have a training setback, for example, an injury, in that moment, if it's a genuine injury in the middle of a session, it's frustrating, might scare you a little bit. If it's a serious injury, a genuine serious injury, I would stop training. But if it was a little niggle or somewhat that put an element of doubt in my body, I wouldn't just fold and down tools. I very simply evaluate for the remainder of this session, based on how I feel and the niggle of the injury I've just picked up, what can I do and what was in the original plan that would be stupid to do. So rather than not do anything, I just focus on what I can do and keep moving forward and just get the best out of that session based on how I feel and how the body's responded without being reckless. When it comes to dealing with a bad lift, or if I don't hit a certain number, then I literally remember that in my mind and I use that as motivation for my next session. And I would evaluate things such as, how did I sleep the night before? How did I mentally prepare before that lift? Was I switched on? Was I distracted? Did I concentrate from the start of the set to the end of the set? Could I have even pushed harder? Or simply put, what did I do differently that maybe I didn't, let me rephrase that. So what did I do differently on that lift that I didn't achieve, as opposed to maybe a lift that I achieved previously from maybe a better set of preparation tools. And I think what's really important from that in terms of training is to evaluate better. I genuinely think that one of the reasons people don't look the way they want to, don't get as strong, fit, or fast as they want to, is they don't evaluate in enough detail why they're not getting stronger, why they didn't hit a certain lift, why they're not getting faster. They're just doing lifts and doing runs, whatever your thing is, for the sake of it, just to tick a box. And I think the longer you've been training and the more progress you want to make, but the less time you potentially have available to make that progress, you have to ruthlessly evaluate your performance, just like I'm sure you do when it comes to your business and your career. But focus on what you can do and don't dwell on bad lifts too much. Just use it as motivation for the next session to think, how can I prepare better and how can I work even harder? And a big one for me is, how can I concentrate even harder on that given exercise with that weight, so I turn that bad lift into a good lift the following week. It's amazing what that 5 to 10% more in mental focus can do for the quality lifting. When it comes to food, it's inevitable if you have a lifestyle like me, that when travel, hotels, airports, restaurants, or maybe an invitation to a friend's house to eat, that you can't always eat exactly what you want, even with the best intentions. Or more common than that, you're in a scenario where you just overeat a bit more food than you initially intended. And I think where my mindset is different and why I've stayed in shape, even if I have overeaten, which I do, by the way, on certain occasions, is I don't fold and I don't turn that overeating into a fuck it mentality where you're drastically over-consuming calories and turning what maybe was a little bit of a blip with your food into a shitstorm where you are just completely gorging, overeating, and it can take weeks to get that extra calories you consumed off. So if I do ever overeat or don't meet my expectations in terms of calorie quantity and quality, I just make sure with supreme discipline that doesn't happen again the next day, or maybe even the next meal. I just don't let that one blip turn into 2, 3, 4, 5, because I think when you have that fuck it mentality with food, I think there is nothing more damaging. And for me, that is the main reason why a lot of people struggle with their weight management and fluctuate in their shape and consistency with how they look. So food for me, when I fuck up with that, it's to make sure I don't miss twice. Water. It sounds a bit dramatic, like a water setback, but I think a lot of people who struggle with their weight drastically undervalue the importance of hydration. Even if people aren't getting stronger, a lot of the time when we've magnified a client's core driver inputs, which water is, they're not drinking enough water. It's impossible to perform at your best and concentrate when you are lacking in water. So if I was to ever have a day where I didn't drink enough water, usually that comes down to preparation. And rather than make a mountain out of a mole when it comes to water, I just simply think, how could, again, I prepare better so I'm never in a scenario where I don't have water at my disposal. And just that for me is a really simple tool to make sure that you drink enough water. When it comes to sleep, I would say, out of all the core drivers, has been one of my Achilles heels over the past 10, 20 years. I mean, I've got a lot better at it the last couple of years. But if I ever have a bad night or two with sleep, I reverse engineer why. What time did I go to bed? What did I do differently? Did I not switch off early enough? Did I get distracted before bed? Was there something to do with my discipline that affected how late I was going to bed? But I just, again, evaluate, why did I have a bad night's sleep? What did I do differently as opposed to when I have a good sleep? Because it's amazing when you reverse engineer what you actually do before an outcome that you don't want, which is a bad night's sleep for many. It's amazing what you can then do to prepare better before you go to sleep. The next one is client problems. Now, I'd love to say, in spite of the success and the results we build with our clients and for our clients, that we never have client challenges and problems, but I'd be lying. Law of averages, even with the best will in the world, every now and then there is a client that becomes problematic, and even though he might have said on the front end that he wants to change and said he's going to do everything you've asked him to do, they get to a part of the journey where deep down they don't want, or aren't more specifically willing to do the work that's needed. And they become a problem for team, me, and as I say to anyone who joins our Built to Last program, and anyone listening to this thinking of joining our Built to Last program, I don't want clients, I want client success stories. I don't want to waste people's money or our time knowing we have a guaranteed solution if someone was going to follow through, implement, ask for help, and be coachable. And it's annoying when you know in your heart that you care. Our team, although not perfect, we run through fire to deliver on a result. It is fucking annoying when a client becomes a problem, makes excuses repeatedly, and simply doesn't implement, and then tries to make excuses and blame. And that can take you away from stuff that you previously intended to do on that day or that week. It can be a distraction, it can be annoying, it can be a headache, and could cause stress. But the way I evaluate that now, I don't make it a bigger deal than what it is, and I try and detach myself emotionally. And I try and take responsibility. So although it is incredibly annoying when a client doesn't follow through, how I deal with that particular setback is use it as an opportunity to ask myself, and maybe even that client, how could we improve our service? Is there something we missed? Is there something from what that client is saying that is giving us an idea to upgrade our business model, service, and delivery to our clients? Or more personally to me or my client success onboarding team, is there something we missed on the front end that shouldn't have allowed that client to join in the first place? Because I'm sure if you've run your own business and it involves clients and customers, it's very easy to persuade or influence someone into the program just because you're trying to generate revenue, and deep down if they implemented your system that they're going to get the result they want. But often when I've evaluated a client who has become a problem really, really granularly, a lot of the time I probably shouldn't have signed that client up in the first place. And I should have listened to my gut. And I use it as an opportunity for myself or within my team who are onboarding clients. Think, what did we miss and how can we get better so our qualification process is even more diligent, so that we are genuinely getting clients that are aligned to our values and potential standards should they come on board with us. But I certainly don't lose sleep over it. I think when I first started my business and you had a client that left or wanted to leave or was moaning, you can take it overly personal. But if you know in your heart, you've done your best, you tried to solve their problems and solutions as best you possibly could, the team have done all they can, and for full transparency, we audit every single client, have team meetings every week where we evaluate if a client was to leave, could we have done anything better? Did they get the result they wanted to achieve with us? And if we can rest easy with those questions, then we're happy. whether that client left or not. Number 6 is money. I think irrelevant of success, and obviously I'm in a much better position now with my business and finances and wealth, etc. The last few years, you have money challenges from time to time in business, different stages of business, different stages of life. And if I ever have a money stress, I think one of the things that helps me deal with that setback or challenge, or that's simply just playing on my mind, is ask myself, why am I feeling this way? And if this is a money challenge or a problem, how can I look at this as an opportunity to create more money, be more grateful for what I have, and ask myself, how did I allow this situation to make me feel this way when it comes to money? What did I do that has got me in this place where maybe I'm stuck, or simply put, anything to do with money didn't meet my expectations? Because usually when you're stressed with a money situation or something bothers you a little bit to do with money, it's usually because you haven't managed your expectations, or haven't planned as diligently, took my eye off the ball with something. And again, it's just something you have to take responsibility with, and that's certainly what I do. And so often when you change the way you look at money, and you don't make it any more negative than it needs to be, it just takes the stress out of that situation. I think when you sign up to entrepreneurship and run a business, and you've got lofty goals, and you invest in so much back into the business at certain periods, taking risks from time to time, it's inevitable that you're going to have certain moments that aren't as pretty or as comforting, when it comes to, your money management, your profit margins, or whatever it is that's important to you in your business when it comes to money. But you change the way you look at things, focus on what you can do to generate business, and obviously ruthlessly evaluate what you can do to, improve the money management within your business. The next one, again, ties in with business again. It's team. My team has grown immensely the last sort of 3 or 4 years. Really, really proud of every single team member, the value they bring, the extra skill sets they have, and just having that connection and the ability to communicate with other people other than yourself. But I'm sure you relate to this if you've got your own business, that when there's other people and humans within the business who all have lives, all have personal circumstances, all have daily, weekly, monthly tasks, etc. No one's perfect. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to forget things. They're going to not follow through from time to time or meet a target. And learning to deal with this, I believe, is crucial to becoming a successful entrepreneur and running a successful business and creating a healthy culture, all working towards, an empowering mission, vision, etc. So if I ever have a team member where the same problem keeps cropping up, that same person keeps making a mistake, I ask myself, what have I not taught that team member that they need to know? Is there a better system that could make it easier for that team member to implement, not forget things, or do things quicker, smoother, sharper for themselves and for the client, etc.? Simply put, how did it happen and why? And if it's something out of my skill set, when it comes to upgrading a team's performance, I think who, not how, in terms of helping that team member. But again, it just comes down to communication and taking responsibility as a leader at the top. The next one, and I think this for me is a massive reason why people don't look the way they want to, don't have the business they want, the money they want, the relationships they want, is their weekly calendar planning. I think every week at some point, I will have a setback or a curveball that wasn't part of my original weekly plan, wasn't part of the daily tasks, the priorities that I set out to on that that given week. And it's so easy when you get a curveball that affects your plan or the way you'd scheduled your calendar to think, fuck it, fold, and then write the week off. Or for many people, they use that as an excuse when you have a curveball that throws your calendar off to down tools with training and food and movement. I do the opposite. I just literally try and evaluate on that given day where the weekly planning calendar has changed. I think in relation to the remainder of this week, or maybe even that day, how can I get the best out of this day and week? And how can I adapt the priorities that I set out to at the start of the week or the day, whether you're a daily planner, or a weekly planner. I love planning my week, but then I sort of like to also have some priorities on each day. I just ask myself in that moment where I'm faced with a decision that isn't aligned to the initial expectation, how can I best use my time, and what is my biggest value and input that is going to shift the needle and move me forward in relation to where I want to be, and more importantly, how I want to feel at the end of the week. What can I do? What do I not need to do? What's important? What's not important? And can I ask for help? I've been absolutely terrible over the years, especially when I've evolved from a one-man band in my business, of trying to do everything myself and just not delegating quick enough, not asking for help. And often, when I've actually took myself, had a little pit stop when I feel stressed, if my week isn't going my way, it's amazing when you ask someone who is probably even better than you in certain areas for help or guidance. It's amazing how much quicker things can get done and how much more time you buy back. For example, at the minute, I'm selling a property back home in Coventry, and I remember the other week I got a load of forms, and anyone who knows me will tell you I cannot stand technology, Google Docs, forms, anything that requires even the most basic of tech, filling in PDFs virtually. And I literally remember spending about half an hour to an hour trying to do it myself. And I've got a tech guy in my team. I literally locked in a 90-second Zoom with him. And within 90 seconds, he told me what to do. And I managed to complete all the forms for the house in a matter of minutes. And that would have literally taken me probably hours, if not longer. So I think if your calendar isn't going your way, first of all, focus on what you can do and delegate what you can, ask for help quicker. And usually when you're having to sort of micromanage your week a little bit more and squeeze as much into a certain day or week, so often it's easy to take the easy tasks because they're comfortable and you can do them without too much mental friction. But I think the best thing to do is still focus on the hardest task that you set out to at the start of the week. Because usually it's the hardest task, the most uncomfortable tasks that are going to shift the needle in your business. And if you're trying to gain consistency with your training, even if you're time poor and your weekly plan changes, as I've said on many previous podcasts, make sure that you still get your session in. I think a hard session, however short, beats doing nothing. The last couple is to do with emotions and mindset. Dealing with your emotions, especially negative ones, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, anger sometimes. Dealing with this is going to be the single most important thing you need to do if you are trying to maintain consistency, especially with food. As I've said many times before, it's absolutely impossible to have physical consistency and really maximize your potential in your business if you fold the moment you have negative emotions that control you for longer than what they need to. I'm yet to coach anybody or yet to have a week myself where stress, overwhelm, a little bit of anxiety, anger when something doesn't go your way or someone's pissed you off, I'm yet to have anyone I coach or have a week myself where at least one or two or maybe all of those emotions do not creep into your psyche at some point. And it's dealing with these, it's going to dictate your behavior, your food choices, your training focus, basically the inputs that contribute towards a better body and a better business. So if I ever have emotions that come into my head for longer than I want them to, I literally use that as a cue to move, think differently, focus on something that I want. Simply put, change my state. I use that as an opportunity to move more, do more, say better things to myself and focus on what I want. I don't dwell. And also have faith that that emotion that has crept into your head, it passes. You don't just stay with the same feeling and thought for hours and hours and hours. The only way you would sit with that feeling and thought or emotion for longer than what you wanted to is if you didn't move. Remember, movement shifts mood. It's amazing when you have stress, anxiety, overwhelm, etc. It's amazing how quickly that emotion disintegrates when you actually move your body. So when you move your body, your state changes, and when your state changes, you generally have more empowering decisions after that. The last one, and this I suppose really sums up setbacks in general, because what is a setback? Usually a setback is not getting what you want. Because it wouldn't be a setback if you got what you want, or you had an expectation and what you were doing and how you were living is aligned to that. So if I don't get an outcome I want, the first brutal question I ask myself is, what could I have done better? How do I need to get better? Do I need to work harder? Do I need to become smarter? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to ask? Am I putting myself in the right environment to get the outcome I want? And so often the answer is going to be no. The answer is going to be no to many of those questions. But it generally, if you're taking true responsibility and you're not blaming circumstance, if you're not getting the outcome you want, usually it's because you've been deluded with your expectations. Or for many people, including myself, whenever I've not got an outcome I want, I didn't take big enough action, I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't have the right plan in place to meet that outcome. And the beauty of this is you can always change what you do, change how you plan, upgrade your environment, just so you're more likely to increase the chances of achieving that outcome. But I think the overriding message I want to get across today is you change the way you look at things. A setback is only as important as the meaning you place on it. A setback is only as important as the meaning you place on it. Because why is it some people have setbacks, failures, brutal challenges, deep adversity, and they can overcome, get better, get stronger, get smarter, get fitter, get faster? And why is it some people, when they have a setback, failure or challenge, they fold? And if you look at anyone successful in business, anyone successful in professional sport, anyone who's been able to maintain fantastic shape and self-respect with their health, back to back, month to month, year to year, that hasn't happened by chance. And I'm yet to meet any of these high performers, whether it's in sport, business, or with body, who hasn't had a setback. But it's those that deal with the setbacks better, become better, and as a result of becoming better and having better habits and behavior, you behave your way to a better body, better business, better relationships. More importantly, you grow more, become more. And as I've said on many podcasts before, if you can take action, keep your training up, work hard, still move forward in your business when you have a setback, when you then have a a week, a month that you don't have as many setbacks, it's amazing how much confidence you'll have on those months where you have less challenges if you stay true to yourself and you stay, true to your habits and discipline on the weeks that you have setbacks. That for me sorts the men from the boys. A lot of people talk the talk when wanting a better body. A lot of people talk the talk when wanting a better business. But the people who truly build a better body, build a better business, and simply put, are more happier in life, are the people that push through challenges and setback and look at every opportunity or every challenge as an opportunity to improve and condition a better mindset. As always, I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways. Love to hear if there's anything particular that stands out. Really appreciate your support of this channel, and I'll see you next time.